I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in the cradles, profanities. I see the world through ice covered in ink and bleach. Cross out the ones who heard my cries and watched me weep. I love everything. Fire spreading all around my room. My world's so bright, it's hard to breathe, but that's alright. Hush.
What is happening, all of you sexy warriors out there? Welcome back to the channel for the long-awaited review of the new gun wall, the new studio that we have here that was sponsored by Hold Up Displays. So first and foremost, big shout out to Hold Up Displays. This is a long overdue video. I was still messing around with the layout, but I finally came to a point where I feel very happy with the way it looks, and I wanted to bring to you guys and talk to you guys about this new dream studio that I have. Again, sponsored by Hold Up Displays. This entire wall was sent out by them to me and for me to utilize as my beautiful backdrop for all of my gun reviews and real talk series and all that stuff long into the future. So we might as well just start off right there. For full disclosure, it was sent out, as we've mentioned multiple times already now. And I do make a commission when you guys send an email to the email in the description and let them know you're thinking about considering buying one of these, and I'm the one who sent you. Now, with that being said, as I always say here on the channel, this is not a cheap setup. This is certainly a premium type setup. So if you don't have the money, if you're in credit card debt, if you're trying to get out of debt, then you don't need the gun wall, guys. Let me just be honest, right? You don't need the new gun, you don't need the new optic, you don't need the gun wall. But if you ball, and if you're gonna do it anyways, and if you are a man who likes nice things, then it really doesn't get better than the Hold Up Displays behind me. And if you do decide to get one, it would mean a lot to me for you to send them an email letting them know I sent you. Now, with that being said, you can still enjoy this content. You can still look at this beautiful eye candy, as some would call it, behind me and talk about it, and we can talk about why it's so great. Also, you can save up for something like this. This can be something you work towards. For me, I've been meaning to redo my gun room for a long time, this studio for a very long time, and I finally was able to. So we're gonna take it back to the beginning, talk about where I was before we jump into and talk about the Hold Up Displays and why I love it so much. So starting back at the beginning, I had a different type of tactical wall, some would call it. And this room was previously a guest bedroom. So we had a queen size bed in here. We had a lot going on in this room. This was a very much an afterthought for when the channel was part-time still. I had just this one wall over here with a tactical type wall. You could say that I had purchased with my own money. It cost me nearly $1,000 at the time, and it was just simply 4 panels. They were 2x4 wide and long, and they were just black. Long story short, it's nothing really wrong with that company. There was one glaring issue I had with it. The stud lines didn't match up with the studs in my walls, and also if you wanted to remove a hook or a magazine or something like that and move some stuff around, you had to slide it to a certain position and then pull it out. And so if there was something in the way, you had to remove multiple things, take multiple things down off the wall, which became very frustrating because, as you guys know, I'm constantly using things, switching things around, and to move them around was super annoying. In order to get one off of the middle or the bottom, I had to remove all the guns on top of it. It was a very annoying system to use, and it barely housed a quarter of my collection. So when I decided to go YouTube full time, which, by the way, shout out to every single one of you guys who's been supporting me from day one. I really appreciate all the support. Check out rangedaybro.com and use code RDB10 over at Brownells. They are the biggest sponsor of the channel, and it does support me moving forward. Don't buy anything you don't need, but if you're gonna buy it anyways, I really appreciate the support. I wanted to really transform this room into this. I had this idea, I had this dream, and when I started talking to Hold Up Displays, it was super simple to create it because of the way the system goes up. And we're gonna talk about that here shortly. So when I first started talking to the guys over there at Hold Up, they pretty much asked me what are the dimensions of the wall that I would like. And so I told them I want to go from the top of my electrical sockets because I don't feel like cutting any of the panels because they are aluminum. Again, going back to the quality of these things, they're top notch. So I didn't feel like cutting any aluminum, so I wanted to go right from the top of my electrical sockets, my plugs in the wall, and I wanted to go all the way up to almost to the ceiling, but I didn't want to go to the ceiling in case there was any warping. I do live in a little bit of an older house that really wasn't put together that well, so I didn't want to have to deal with, again, any inconsistencies in the ceiling line, so I left myself a little bit of gap at the ceiling as well. And after I told them the dimensions, they literally just shipped out the amount of panels that I would need. They do come in 4 foot by 2 foot sections, and the reason they do that, and there's a way to install it properly, I'm not gonna get into really in depth about how to install them, but they'll send you the longer sections and the shorter sections, and you kind of stagger them similar to when you install hardwood flooring so that you don't have a big line running all the way down your wall, so on and so forth. Although the lines are very hard to see and almost pretty much seamless, it still will kind of stand out if there's one big line running down the entire wall. So they send you smaller sections and longer sections so you can stagger them. They have these little plates that you put in between them. You kind of knock them together with a rubber mallet and they sandwich them together, hold themselves together. And it's kind of like a little link section to connect the panels. And so when you put it all together, they have these little joint hiders right here to hide all of your screws. This is a pack of them. They're not that thick. They're just little thin guys. You slide them in between where all the screws go, so it hides all of your screw holes, and it turns into this beautiful seamless package that you have behind me. And it was very, very easy to do. I have a time-lapse video for you guys of me and my buddy Ian throwing it together, so a big shout out to Ian. Remember the guys who show up when you call for a project or to help you move? Those are your real friends, guys. Treat those guys pretty well. So Ian and I knocked this thing out. I think it took us about 2.5 to 3 hours with a few breaks in there. But as you can see from the time lapse, very simple. Once you get the first line laid out, which is the hardest part to make sure it's completely level, the rest is very simple. I did run into a few other issues, again, because of the inconsistencies in my walls. Some of the walls were warped in some areas, but again, now that it's all drilled up and secured to the wall, you can't see any of that. Now, I did also include a little piece of PVC, little corner, like a wire channel in between the two walls directly behind me, and I'll roll in some footage. You can kind of see it shining a little bit up there in the back top, but it's just a piece of black PVC wire hider that you'd buy from like an office store. I got mine from Amazon, and I ran an electrical cable from the bottom down here all the way up through on this corner of the wall, all the way up through to the top, so that I could mount my lights and plug my lights in at the top, so I wouldn't have a bunch of wires coming down on the sides and whatnot. Even though in footage you wouldn't be able to see it, it would just look cleaner in general for the room, and that's what I prefer. So we jumped ahead to talking about installation. This is not really an installation video. This is more so a overarching tour of the gun wall and gun room and studio. So I don't want to spend too much time harping on how to install it. They have plenty of instructions out there already, and there's some other folks who've made some detailed videos on it. This is more so just a highlights of the installation. I want to talk to you more so about the modularity of it and all the other things that I like about it besides the installation portion. But this last thing I will mention, this is the trim that comes with it. Again, it is aluminum, much like the actual panels themselves, and they use double-sided tape to stick these onto the edges. Now, I myself only put trim on the two sides that were exposed because the top and bottom look clean enough to me personally that I didn't feel like it needed it all the way across the top, all the way across the bottom. So I just put the trim around the two edges that are exposed on both sides. The only problem is that I will warn you guys about when you use the double-sided tape, make sure you put it as far as you can on the edge of that wall, because sometimes it might shine through and actually show a little bit of that white double-sided tape, and it just doesn't look that great. That's the only critique I have as far as how this is actually stuck up. I wish they would actually come with pre-installed double-sided tape on the inside of these, but if that's the only critique I have, that's a pretty good sign in my opinion. Now, this is not a cheap wall, as we've already mentioned, but these things come packaged like an absolute premium product. It took me about an hour and a half just to open up the packages. Here is another batch of the 2-foot panel sections right here, and as you guys can tell, this was inside of another box that was inside of another box, extremely well packaged, very well protected, and I didn't have any of these pieces damaged when they arrived, which is a phenomenal thing considering how heavy these are. The boxes were very heavy. I was very surprised that none of it was damaged, and it was packaged very, very well. It even had little corner protectors on these, like thick cardboard corner protectors on all 4 corners. It was really well sent, which I can really appreciate. So you could tell here's another package of a bunch of 2-foot sections that I was planning on doing a little bit longer on this wall here. But again, I just ended up going symmetrical with it, and I'm gonna save these for either a different wall, or if I ever do move the studio and move to a different place, then I'll probably expand it using these sections here. So now that we've got that all covered, I wanna talk to you guys about the actual attachment methods and what you can do because it really is limitless. It's pretty much endless possibilities for what you can do with it. As you guys can tell, I did a little bit of a different setup. The corner wall where two walls converge into one section. And so I had to make a few modifications to some items. Here we have their helmet holder. So this is designed to hold a ballistic helmet or a bump helmet, whatever it is, right? As you guys can see in the back here, I have my ballistic helmet mounted up. Now I did have to modify this guy since it's in the corner. I just mounted this on the right side wall here, and then I just took a pair of pliers, I put it in my vise, and then I bent this guy and just turned it about 45 degrees pretty much to get it to look and hold as if it's corner mounted, right? And they don't sell anything that's corner specific. So I had to kind of modify this guy and turn and bend it myself to get it to look the way I wanted it to look in the corner. Now, as far as the plate carrier holder, those I didn't have to bend at all. I just put one on each wall and kind of just finagled it in, and it held perfect the way it looks today. So that was really cool. And as far as the YouTube play button plaque, that's just two of their straight peg, I guess you can call them. Like, I think it's like a belt holder or something like that. I just repurposed it and made it pretty much a shelf because I wanted to use one of these shelves down here, but they're rectangular instead of square. I didn't really love the way they looked. They just didn't look quite right up there, and I wanted it to look super clean. So as far as the actual bread and butter of the gun wall are these hooks. So you have one for the rear. This is the rear hook. It's a little bit more narrow, as you guys can see. Then the front hook, which is a little bit wider. And what this ends up doing when you have a narrow rear hook and a front hook that's wider is it ends up kind of cocking the guns out at like the perfect angle so that the light hits them perfectly and they kind of stand out and kind of, you know, it's like they're almost like they're speaking to you, right? I really love the way these look. They're not just all flat against the wall, one dimensional. When you hang these things up, they work super well. It fits with a quad rail, it fits with M-lock rails, it fits with bolt guns, shotguns. It fits any gun that you could imagine mounting up, right? Any rifle, any long gun. Again, going back to the old gun wall that I had, I used to have to move things in order to get things out. With these, you just pop them in, pop them out however you'd like. You don't have to move anything else. It's just literally you can pop them in, pop them out right where they sit. And they do have these clips right here. These are retention clips that you use to secure the bottom half. To be honest, I don't have these installed everywhere quite yet, again, because I kind of move these around, I slide them around, and these just make it an extra step to have to move them. But when you slide these guys on, you hook it in the slat wall, they slide in like so, and then they clip into place so that you don't have to worry about the bottom coming up when you're pulling the guns on and off the wall. It locks them into place so they won't slide and they won't kick up and fall out on you. The other beautiful part is it's completely scalable. So if you want to stack a bunch of guns like I have over here, you can get these racks where it just holds a ton of, like, I think it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guns in a row, and you could just line up guns, as many guns as you want, vertically like so, and stack as many guns as you need to versus having them all horizontal, taking up more space like the rest of the wall. And originally I was going to do the whole bottom of both walls in these horizontal gun racks, but I decided there were certain guns I wouldn't mind leaving in the safe because I really wanted to maximize the amount of display space that I had for certain rifles, and I'd rather have some more guns displayed than just having more storage on the wall itself. The wall is more of an art piece to me than a storage piece, so that's exactly why I went the route that I did. But those racks are awesome because if you have a ton of guns and you're creating a vault room or something like that and you do just need storage, then you can get a ton of guns in a very small amount of space, which is very cool. Now they also have magazine holders, which let me just grab one off the wall to show you guys while we talk about it. These magazine holders are really cool. It's one size fits all. There's a little rubberized bar that goes across and it has all these little notches here. If you guys can see those notches there, okay, so you can decide based off of your magazines you're using. If you're using pistol mags, you can close it down up here in the front, and your Glock mags will fit in here, your PCC mags, your CZ Scorpion, and then if you want to go a little bit larger, I don't really know what the second one is for. I don't know what would really fit there. Maybe, I don't know, Desert Eagle mags or something like that. Something that's like in between a pistol mag and an AR mag. The third slot here is for like the AR mags. Fits perfect. P mags is pretty much what I use exclusively, but fits standard GI mags and whatnot. And then if you want to go the largest for AR-10s, then you use the last hook right there and it fits all your AR-10s, FAL mags, SCAR mags. The only mags this thing is not big enough to fit, which was kind of disappointing because I have 8 of them, is the HK MR762 mags, but literally those mags are the biggest mags like ever. So it's not just hold-up displays that don't fit them. Most mag pouches for AR-10s don't fit them either. Again, before the hold-up displays was here, I had guns everywhere, had mags everywhere, there was ammo everywhere, And so this has really helped me to kind of organize everything off the ground, create a ton of more space in my room, in my studio to walk and move and work on things. And now I know where everything is as well. It's not just all stacked in a big junk pile. Now I want to show you guys something that you probably can't see because it's out of the camera angle there. But on the edge of the wall, I have my 2Vets tripod here, which has been an amazing tripod, by the way. Shout out 2Vets, they did send this out, but it's a phenomenal tripod. But I actually use one of their pistol holders from Hold Up Displays, and I actually just turn the little hooks in a little bit like so they're kind of pigeon-toed, I guess you could say. And it actually holds my tripod perfectly on the gun wall itself. So again, another utility, another way to utilize the wall that was not originally intended or designed that way. But it's great because I use this tripod a lot for holding rifles when I'm reviewing them. But when I'm editing, when I'm moving around, when I'm working on things in here, it kind of gets in the way. So it's nice to be able to just throw it on the wall, get it up and out of the way, keep it safe from being, you know, knocked over and damaged. And the pistol holders do exactly that. Now, while we're on the topic, let me just set this down, show you guys the pistol holder. So as you guys can see, I have a bunch of pistols displayed behind me, kind of all angling in towards the play button there. That's kind of the look I wanted to go for. I really love symmetrical design, so I really enjoy the symmetry of this pistol setup. And the coolest part about it is you can do that any way that you want with these things. So you can tilt them back and forth. You can change the angle of how your pistols are mounted. Extremely easy modular system to use. I really can't say enough good things about the gun wall. And I really don't know what else to say about it, honestly. But over here on my right-hand side, you guys can see I have my war belt being hung up by just a regular hook. One of these hooks, I have some extras. So I used one of these to hang up my war belt. On the other side over here, you can't see it. I'm using another one of these hooks to hang up all my rifle slings. So everything is organized. Everything that I need is on the wall. In some form or fashion, I have all my magazines lined up behind me, below me. Let's talk a little bit more about like the setup a little bit. I have some sound deadening foam around the wall in certain areas, also to black it out because the walls were this white that's behind me on the floor. I'm very happy with the way it turned out. I have these lights from Amazon. If you guys are interested, somebody let me know. If you are interested, I'll link them. If not, I'm not gonna worry about it. But they are multicolor. I guess I can show you guys that real quick. That's kind of fun. Let me pop out a frame real quick. Color I want, so if I want it to be red, and then we can make it literally whatever color. There's orange, there's yellow, green. So for St. Patty's Day, you know, whatever the occasion calls for. Light blue, dark blue, purple, which is my daughter's favorite. So very cool. It also has can play the music and whatnot, but obviously we're not partying in here. Well, sometimes we party in here, but I think that's pretty much going to cover it for today, guys. I could not be happier about this gun wall. I have to give a huge shout out to Hold Up Displays for making this like dream room a reality. Without them, none of this would be possible. So I want to give them a huge shout out. Even if you're thinking that maybe one day in the far away future, I'd like to have a gun wall, or even if you're like, hey, in my dreams, if I hit the lottery, I'd like to have a gun wall. If you just send them an email and let them know I sent you, it still helps me out, still shows them that people are watching this and they like what I've done with the gun room. And if you guys are one of those people, I would appreciate it if you sent them an email. Again, the email is right below in the description of the video. Thank you guys so much for all the support and staying to the end of the video. I love you guys. If you want to support the channel, rangedaybro.com, discounts page, affiliates page, loadouts page, subscribe to our email list over there. Liking, commenting, subscribing is a huge help and it's free. So if you guys enjoy this content even a little bit, hit that like button. I really appreciate every single one of y'all. And as always, drink a lot of water. Christ is king. Stay safe. Stay dangerous. Range Day Bro out.